Iran has once again targeted vessels linked to the United Arab Emirates in the Strait of Hormuz, and the crisis has now reached a dangerous point for the entire Gulf. This Wednesday, May 6, 2026, the Emirates were targeted for the second consecutive day in this new round of drone and missile attacks attributed to Iran. The attack hit a route used by commercial ships and oil tankers, while the United States Navy was trying to reopen the passage through Freedom Project. What started as pressure against cargo ships trapped in the Gulf has now turned into an open clash between the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the Emirates, and the American military presence in the region. I'll tell you all about that in a moment, but right now you'll want to be subscribed to the channel to stay well informed with real-time information and the best journalistic quality you've ever seen. Milson Alves, the standard in credibility. The most sensitive target was a vessel linked to Adenok, the Emirati state energy giant. According to Emirati authorities cited by the international press, the ship was attacked by Iranian drones in the Strait of Hormuz in an area close to the Emirati coast. So far, in this specific attack against the vessel, there has been no immediate confirmation of deaths or injuries. That does not lessen the gravity of the case. The message behind the attack was clear. Iran tried to show that it can still threaten ships, ports, and energy routes, even after American military pressure. The vessel was within a vital zone for oil trade. The problem is that in recent days, Iran hasn't targeted only American targets. It also launched attacks against vessels and structures linked to nearby nations in an attempt to spread fear, disrupt navigation, and force a negotiation from a stronger position. The response from the Emirates went beyond what was expected, because Abu Dhabi stopped treating the case as a distant warning and started acting as a nation that was directly attacked. Air defenses were activated, flights were diverted, schools switched to remote learning from May 5th to 8th, and the country began operating in a state of controlled emergency. The measure in schools shows that the government did not see the episode as isolated military noise. It saw it as a real risk to civilians, infrastructure, and the national routine. The most serious point is that the attack occurred while Washington was trying to guide stranded or detained vessels in the Gulf through the protected maritime corridor. Project Liberty was presented by Trump as an operation to guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz and to show that the Revolutionary Guard does not decide alone who passes and who gets detained. According to reports cited by Reuters and American networks, United States forces intercepted drones and missiles, as well as destroyed small Iranian vessels that were trying to interfere. The Revolutionary Guard, in turn, seems to have bet on chaos. While Iranian diplomats were seeking talks through regional channels, Iranian military forces were making threats against ships and testing the reaction of Gulf neighbors. Information circulating points to tension even within the Iranian government itself. President Masoud Pezeshkian is reportedly upset with military actions carried out without political coordination. This reveals an Iran divided between those who try to negotiate to save the regime and those who prefer to set the board on fire so as not to appear defeated. The attack against the Emirates was not just military, it was also an attempt at economic intimidation. By hitting a vessel linked to the energy sector, Tehran sends a message to the market. Any pressure against Iran can come at a high cost along the oil shipping route, but this calculation carries a huge risk. The Emirates are not an isolated target. They are strategic allies of the United States. They host global economic interests, and they play a central role in Gulf logistics. Attacking ships linked to Abu Dhabi is opening a front that could draw Washington, Israel, and other nations into a tougher response. That's when the crisis grows to a whole new scale. The Israeli press reported that the United States and Israel are considering attacks against Iranian missile launchers and an energy facility in response to the attack on the Emirates. At the same time, Trump decided to temporarily pause part of Project Liberty, saying he still hopes to move forward with a deal with Tehran without letting up the pressure on Iranian ports. Washington appears to be delaying the main strike for now, but is keeping forces ready to respond. What happens now depends on three moves. First, if Iran continues firing drones and missiles at the Emirates or at commercial ships, the chance of a military response increases. Second, if the Emirates identify new threats to ports, airports, or energy facilities, Abu Dhabi is likely to strengthen its domestic defenses and ask for more American support. Third, if the Revolutionary Guard directly challenges United States ships, the crisis may stop being just a dispute. Third, contenção e virar confronto naval aberto. This is the central fact. In this recent round, the Emirates suffered attacks for the second consecutive day. This scenario echoes a grave historical episode. Closure of the Strait of Tehran in 1967. In May 1967, Gamal Abdel Nasser's Egypt closed the Strait of Tehran to ships linked to Israel and withdrew international forces from the region. That passage was vital for Israel's access to the Red Sea, and Tel Aviv interpreted the measure as a direct threat to its economic and military survival. A few days later, on June 5, 1967, the Six-Day War began, involving Israel against Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. That episode's lesson remains relevant today. When a nation tries to choke off another nation's shipping at a strategic point, the conflict can quickly move from diplomacy to military action. That's exactly why the Iranian attack on ships linked to the United Arab Emirates in the Strait of Hormuz carries so much weight. It's not just about a vessel being hit, but an attempt to turn an essential energy route into a tool of coercion against neighbors and allies of the United States. Other examples show the same pattern on different fronts. On September 14, 2019, Aramco facilities in Abqaiq and Qurais were attacked by drones and missiles in an action that Washington and Riyadh attributed to Iran, although Tehran denied it. The impact was immediate because it hit energy, the market, and regional security at the same time. More recently, in the Red Sea, the Houthis, allies of the Iranian Axis, used drones and missiles against commercial ships, forcing military actions by the United States, the United Kingdom, and partners to protect maritime routes. The strategy keeps repeating itself, using groups, drones, and maritime straits to exact a political price from stronger adversaries. In the case of the Emirates, the Iranian calculation could prove costly. Abu Dhabi does not want a long war, but it also cannot accept that oil tankers, ports, and cities are left vulnerable. That's why the response with air defense, changes in schools, and coordination with the United States shows that the Emirates have started to treat the attack as a red line. The Revolutionary Guard tried to scare the Gulf. The effect could be the opposite, uniting the neighbors against Tehran and creating room for a more coordinated response. The situation also exposes the fragility of the Iranian regime itself. If the Iranian president tries to speak about diplomacy, while the Revolutionary Guard fires at ships and neighbors, the world sees a government that does not fully control its military machine. This weakens any negotiation. After all, it's of little use for a diplomat to promise calm if, at the same time, drones are heading toward Emirati vessels. The question that remains is who really rules in Tehran, the government that negotiates or the ideological armed force that prefers to risk everything in confrontation? For the United States, the challenge is to calibrate the response. A major attack could bring down the fragile truce for good. A weak response could encourage new attacks against ships, bases, and allies. That's why Washington is trying to send two messages at once. There's still room for an agreement, but the American Navy will not abandon the Hormuz route. This is the most delicate part of the situation right now. Iran is testing the limits, the Emirates are withstanding the pressure, and the United States is calculating how far they can go without turning the entire Gulf into a new war front. I'm Milson Alves, a specialist in international relations, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end, check out the comments so you can be even more engaged with the Milson Alves community.